it's only been 2 games, but I feel really confident saying that Auburn's season is over. I mean, Auburn is I'm not being Debbie Downer. I'm not overreacting to this. I probably am, but I look at Auburn's schedule and I don't chalk any of these games up for a win on the schedule the rest of the year. Y'all been laughing at me about Notre Dame or not Notre Dame, Vanderbilt. I'd pencil that one in. I would pencil it in. Jerry Kill, Diego Pavea, they're going to get Hugh Freeze for a third time. And then, just an hour before we've come on our show, Hugh Freeze was doing his weekly radio show. He called New Mexico a scary team. You know how scared that makes me? That he's calling a team that lost to Montana State scary? I just it was a complete and utter really disaster offensively. I mean, all the talk has been Auburn's got the wide receivers. The offense is going to be better. The offensive line is going to be better. And I agree. I mean, that is all true, but nothing's changed. I mean, Cal, you look at the numbers from the Auburn Cal game. Auburn ran it 4 yards a carry, and I've been saying, y'all have heard me say it many times. It's in Auburn's DNA. You have to run the ball. Auburn ran it 30 times. They threw it 27 times. I like the balance, but the passing game wasn't working. I mean, Peyton Thorne, he really threw 6 interceptions. 2 of them were called back, so he has 4 officially. It was just an offensive disaster in so many ways. And nothing has been said to give me confidence. The only thing that gives me confidence is the adjustments DJ Durkin made with that defense going in. I've been saying, the secondary is young. The secondary is probably the weak spot of the defense, and that was the game plan, was to try to protect the defense. But it got Cal into a rhythm offensively, and then Auburn just couldn't. When they made the adjustment, started locking down the short passes, it was better. But I mean, my takeaway, Stephen A. said it best: hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. I was expecting a lot better. Expecting much better. The play from a fifth-year senior quarterback is the most appalling of all of it. I mean, the confused looks back to the sideline after incomplete pass. It just was. I can't even really put it into words.
What more? And we're going to take this for as long as we can take them. We've only been live for 20 minutes, and then I'll go another 20, 25 minutes with what I'm going to say. What more needs to be seen? Because last year, okay, well, I can't remember what week of the season the Georgia Auburn game was. It was what, late September, early October. So within the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season, those two teams played. Auburn has data points. Hugh Freeze has data points. And I said this, and I'll say this again. I told you guys this. I was in the car on the way to the LSU game. I wasn't watching it. I was watching Ralph FaceTime me showing. I've got a nice screenshot of Will, by the way, just head in his hands. What more do you have to see? I mean, at this point, it's got to be a pride thing, right? Because you've stood by him publicly.
It's 100% a pride thing.
And you just can't swallow it. So look, the conversation in the press box at LSU was this. This guy's, and it's what you said, this guy is going to hitch his wagon, whatever legacy he might have or want to have at Auburn, to someone who can't play the position effectively. And it's not a knock on the guy. I'm sure Peyton Thorne's a nice guy. What more do you have to do or see to say, hey, this isn't working? Also, Will, the comments made today about practice player, we got to evaluate everything. Is everyone else just completely awful in practice? Like, that's even more concerning. If those guys can't show, either it's a pride thing or the whole room is terrible.
I think it's 100% a pride thing. I mean, he said during the offseason, he was asked a ton, and I think he finally said, like, I wish y'all would stop asking me about transfer portal quarterbacks, because he came out and said, with the amount of money that we would have to commit to a guy, we didn't think it was a significant upgrade. What was he watching? Because the general consensus, from all the signs point to Auburn could have gotten Cam Ward if they wanted to. And we saw what Cam Ward did in the swamp 2 weeks ago. he wasn't good enough to play at Auburn. I don't believe that. I don't buy that.
That's a Heisman candidate right now. Also, by the way,
I mean, yeah, and I want to bring up Altima's comment. I think we all knew it would take some time to fix Auburn. Keep your head up, Will. The recruiting is up. As long as they give Hugh a couple more years, it will pay off. My concern there is there's an SEC program in the same position Auburn is in now 1 year ago. Florida. Billy Napier had a ton of recruiting momentum similar to what Auburn has, and they did not get the proof of concept on the field a year ago. And now Billy Napier's probably got the hottest seat, one of the hottest seats in the country. The same thing can happen at Auburn if Auburn can't get it fixed. And, I said last week, you put up 73. That's impressive. Something had to go right. How in 1 week does everything just go wrong? Well, because Cal, if you watch the game, Cal was not overly impressive.
Nope.
I mean, Auburn was never down more than 14 points. Auburn was in the game the whole game. It was a big combination of things. I think if Auburn just commits to the running game more, Auburn probably wins the game if they just keep the ball on the ground.
Well, and I want to ask you this too, because you've talked about the RPO game. I mean, the decision making, and some, I think it was a fan, and I don't want to be rude. It might have been a fan that did a thread. I don't know if you saw this, Will, of the different plays that the RPOs that where he just misses. Either it's a read, there's an open slant, there's different things to where he's just missing it. I mean, is there an actual chance that Hank Brown, who's the presumed number 2 quarterback that we would all think, is actually going to trot out there with the first team after the kickoff on Saturday? Or is this, I mean, what is, because here's the thing, this is the last game, and I know that they've got ULM down the road or whatever. This is the last game where you can really kind of figure this thing out, because correct me if I'm wrong, you have Arkansas at home the following week, and then you welcome Oklahoma, and then go to Georgia, I believe, or have a bye week and go to Georgia. So you really kick the SEC slate into gear. We all know, we looked at it, in the preseason, the middle to end of that slate is kind of brutal. I mean, there's 3 or 4 games in a row. This is the last game you can figure it out. So you can't waste time. Exactly. What do you do? What is the plan?
Well, I fully expect Peyton Thorne to trot out there first against New Mexico. But Hugh Freeze said in his presser today, said on his radio show tonight that they will be, it's basically an open competition right now for the starting quarterback job. And excuse me, the little bit we've seen of Hank Brown, especially in that bowl game, he got a big set of plays against Maryland. He plays fearless, which I think you have to do in Hugh Freeze's RPO system. You got to kind of be a bit of a gunslinger. You think back to Ole Miss, Bo Wallace. I know he was very inconsistent, but when he was good, he was really good. Chad Kelly, a gunslinger. You can't be scared to make a decision. You just have to make the decision and go. And too many times we've seen Peyton Thorne second guess his decisions, not want to throw the ball. I give him a pass last year because those receivers, they struggled to get open. There were guys running wide open all day long, but he was holding the ball too long. He was scared to throw it. And with this group of receivers, we've seen glimpses of how talented all of them are. We know how good Keandre Lambert-Smith is. He's got 3 years at Penn State to back it up. Just put the ball in a spot where the DB can't intercept it. See if these guys can make a play for you. It worked for Taylor Green against Oklahoma State on Saturday for Arkansas. I mean, the guy was just my thing about Arkansas is if Auburn doesn't get it fixed, Arkansas is going to come in there and beat Auburn by 2 or 3 touchdowns, because with Auburn's issues in the secondary and watching how Arkansas's receivers played, it's going to be, it could get ugly. It could get ugly because I don't have a lot of answers, and I don't know that the coaching staff does at this point either. And Hugh Freeze also said tonight on his radio show, looking back at the tape, he only saw 1 bad play call. 1, which I find that hard to believe too. But also, I don't have faith that the quarterback's making the right decisions either.
Yeah. Ultima does say running the Wildcat would be better than what Thorne did on Saturday. I really thought he was past that. Will, I don't know if it'd go as far as saying that, but you have mentioned, and you told Ralph and I this, they need to be run dependent and work off of that. It has always been the case at Auburn, and that's what they need to do.
It's been the case with Peyton Thorne. His best season at Michigan State, he had Kenneth Walker, who was who the
Did he
best
win
running
the Doak
back.
Walker that year? I think he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe he did.
2021.
Yeah, I mean they were a run dominant team. You open up the passing game with the run, and Freeze talking about only one bad play call. Where everybody got tired of it. Auburn people got tired of watching it. But where were the bubble screens? Where were the tunnel screens? I mean, no like quick, easy hitters for the quarterback to get him into rhythm. There was none of that. And I don't get that. Aaron Murray did a great breakdown. I'm sure most people have seen it. We've all watched it. Made a lot of good points. The scheme is a question mark for me too. The best example he gave was the curl flat. Auburn's running curl routes all day, but they're not putting somebody in the flat to make the linebacker make a decision.
That guy can
So
just sit on it.
I think it's a huge combination of everything right now, and Auburn's got to get it fixed quick.
Yeah. Ralph, I know we've been talking about it, but I looked like you were going to say something there. Any thoughts? Because I know you got to watch this game too. Maybe not as close to the situation there as Will is, but kind of your thoughts. Because I called you, I said, "Hey, how down bad is Will right now?" And he said,
No, you didn't
right,
just call me.
he
You
got it.
texted me about 3 different times asking me.
Yeah.
And then you messaged me and you called me and FaceTime me, and you had to watch and hear Will crumble. And I hate to use that word, Will, but it's what happened there. There were multiple plays though that Will and I had to sit there and wonder what was Thorne doing on simple RPOs where he had Lambert Smith wide open and throws a deep ball to Cam. Exactly. There's the picture of Will.
That was probably after the third interception.
I'm pretty sure it
Anyways,
was.
keep going.
But he had Lambert Smith wide open and throws the deep ball instead, and it gets intercepted. I'm pretty sure, and that was the interception. Well, I'm pretty sure that's the one, and it was a horrible performance because you ran the ball so well in the first half. I think the stat came up in the first half after the first 5 or 6 plays in the third quarter was Jarquez had 4 carries, 33 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then first drive in the third quarter, 4 carries, 38 yards. They were moving the ball so well, started that third quarter, and then they brought the RPO back. And then he started letting Peyton Thorne pull it and throw it deep. And it was a 3rd down and 9, and Thorne gets sacked. Well, then it's the offensive line's fault because Thorne didn't have enough time. When you're just sitting back there the whole entire time, not moving around, not hitting your check downs, you're not going to have time. I think Thorne was just looking for a deep ball throw every single time. He could do that week 1 when they're playing Alabama A&M, not playing anyone really good. But yeah, again, a team that's Cal's not horrible. They're not some rundown, random team. They got players.
No. Yeah.
And they guys played very well. They played a great game. Props to their coaching staff. They coached a very well game. They coached
Auburn was outplayed and outcoached. I mean, you got to give credit to Cal. I mean, their defensive brain trust, I think, is one of the best in the country. And it's really, people don't talk about it. Justin Wilcox was a great defensive coordinator, had a really great defense at Wisconsin for a couple years before he got the Cal job. Defensive coordinator Peter Sermon, another really respected defensive mind. So they know what they're doing, and they did a great job putting their players in position to make plays and win the game for them. But Auburn's got to do better. You talk about the running game. We've talked about it. Auburn's got to run it more. It's mind blowing to me how it's clear that the strength of this offensive line is running the ball. They're really good at run blocking. They get downhill and they pave the way, but you still are not running the ball enough. I mean, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. And there was hope from the just explosion against Alabama A&M, and then they turn around and only can put up 14 points at home against Cal, who on paper you have a better roster than.
Yeah. Wanted to bring this up, Will, because I know this is an exclusive agreement with somebody, but I did tap into the network of PFF grades. Here is Peyton Thorne's. Will, this is some of the worst PFF grades that I've ever seen. You look against Cal. This is right here, this line. He rated out as a 51.9 total, 47 in the pass, 65 in the run, 38. And this is obviously kind of a fumble category they have. Well, this is brutal. I mean, it's absolutely brutal. I'm going to take this one step.
I don't know that I've ever seen that grade before.
It's pretty awful.
They don't. They certainly don't post it, but
yeah, I'm going to go back to this because this is kind of a pressure in depth. This is what, by the way, let's go to regular season. This is kind of his passing chart. And I love this. I think this is a really cool kind of graphic. Can you guys still see that, by the way?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is kind of a cool graphic to kind of look at because it shows what he's good at. It shows what he can do. Well, you mentioned what Aaron Murray talked about, not the flat. I mean, look where he has success. On the outside right between 0 and 10 yards, he's 5 of 5. 138, quarterback rating. In that intermediate, okay, it takes a dive.
Well, and that's normal.
Yeah,
right?
that's normal. But it's like,
this
why
is
would
not
you
a dangerous place to throw anyway.
Yeah, and you've seen the speed of the wide receivers. They all are really fast. If you can just hit them on a drag, a little 5-yard route, they could take it to the house. I mean, they could outrun everybody on the defense.
Yeah.
So you don't have to take the shots.
No, you don't have to. You're exactly right. You don't have to take those shots. Wanted to get to this. Dr. Bob said Auburn doesn't have enough money to tamper with one of Georgia's backups. Freeze needs better roster management. Will would probably agree with that second statement.
I would agree. Auburn has plenty of money.
Mm-hmm.
And if Freeze can't, start at least winning the games that he should win, he's not going to see any of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
There were a lot of things that need to be fixed, obviously, and one of the questions I kept asking Will and Bryce, you heard me ask them this, what needs to happen on this drive for Hank Brown to come in?
Yeah.
Or what? And I mean, honestly, and I'm not going to say what Will was saying, but it was just another turnover, a 3 and out, and that's what was happening, and nothing changed. It's to the point where, at what point was too much for you to watch? Who do you get?
I want to get to Sam's comment really quick. If you fire Freeze, who do you get? This is a much. I don't know what Bryce is doing. This is much
contact messed up. Apologies.
A much bigger problem, right? A lot of Auburn's problem is the lack of continuity on the coaching staff, whether it's head coaches, it's changing coordinators every year. That has played a huge part, I think, in the development of every player, not just quarterback, every player at Auburn. The last, I don't know, since 2019. I think Auburn has had a different offensive coordinator every year since 2019. Or it's let's see, that's what, 5 years ago. They've had 4 offensive coordinators in 5 years. So that does a lot. And then, the perception is, I know a lot of people try to argue for Auburn and say, well, Auburn's Auburn. Coaches are going to take the Auburn job because, one, and it's Auburn, it's a big school. You can win a championship there. And 2, if you don't win, they fire you and you get a handsome payout.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if Auburn continues this chopping and changing, no head coach that could win a championship is going to want to come. So Auburn is really not in a position to change coach. They kind of have to stick with Freeze just to kind of save their perception.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. I mean, you have to stick with them, but you also, I would say too, you also can't. How much longer can you prolong this? Because I know you were upset about it, but I mean, it's do or die. Like, it's a lot like we talk about Georgia Tech. Like, there are teams that are middling that you're going to get left behind in the grand scheme of the big world of college football. Auburn's going to have the money, but if they can't utilize it correctly or utilize it at all, where is the end point for this? Like, I think this week you have to know who your starting quarterback is going into SEC play.
Yeah. Well, remember, this is Freeze's 15th game?
Yeah,
as Auburn's head coach. Mm-hmm. And he has said, maybe not since day one, but for quite a while, give me until 2025. 2025 is when we'll start to see the changes, because he can filter out all the players he doesn't want and get the players he wants in, which is a great point, and it is in line with how recruiting is in the state of Alabama, which he's made that a huge emphasis, as we've seen for this class 2025. So the talent it's kind of like a golden generation for Alabama high school football the next 3-4 years. So certainly it's too early to make a change, but I mean it's got to be better, because there was a lot of hope and a lot of promise and a lot of people were excited, and nothing's changed. And we've said it all off season. There's no excuses now. You've got the people you want in there. We've got to see some improvement. And some people were saying 9-10 wins. I was never saying that. I said, do better than last year. Give me 7 wins.
Go 7-5, win a bowl game, go 8-5.
Show me some improvement. And I think the vast majority of Auburn people just want to see some improvement. And Saturday was a big step back.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Talking Auburn, and that's Will's big takeaway. He was bamboozled.